When Breath Becomes Air, by Paul Kalanithi is a profoundly moving memoir that chronicles the life, illness, and reflections of a young neurosurgeon facing terminal cancer. Written with raw honesty, deep introspection, and poetic grace, it's a soul-touching exploration of mortality, meaning, and the human condition. Below is a detailed, emotional, and comprehensive summary of the book's story, capturing its essence while avoiding spoilers beyond what's necessary to convey its depth. The story of Paul Kalanithi. Paul Kalanithi was a brilliant neurosurgeon, a man of immense intellect and compassion, who spent his life seeking answers to life's biggest questions. What makes life meaningful? What does it mean to be human? What happens when we confront our own mortality? His memoir, When Breath Becomes Air, is both a personal narrative and a philosophical meditation, written as he faced stage 4 lung cancer at the age of 36. Early life and search for meaning. Paul begins his story by reflecting on his upbringing in a family of Indian immigrants in Arizona. His mother, determined to give her children the best education, instilled in him a love for literature. Paul initially pursued English literature at Stanford University, fascinated by the way stories explore human existence. He grappled with questions of life's purpose, reading works by T.S. Eliot, Walt Whitman, and others, but felt literature alone couldn't fully answer his questions about the human condition. This led him to medicine, specifically neurosurgery, a field that brought him face to face with the brain, the organ he saw as the seat of identity, consciousness, and soul. He pursued a medical degree at Yale and returned to Stanford for his neurosurgery residency, driven by a desire to understand life and death through both science and human connection. His training was grueling, filled with long hours, life-or-death decisions, and moments of profound connection with patients. Paul's reflections on his patients' stories, each a unique encounter with suffering, hope, and resilience, reveal his deep empathy and his struggle to balance clinical detachment with emotional involvement. The diagnosis. At the peak of his career, just as he was nearing the end of his decade-long residency, Paul's life took a devastating turn. He began experiencing severe back pain, fatigue, and weight loss, symptoms he initially dismissed as stress. But a CT scan revealed the unthinkable: stage 4 lung cancer, with metastases already spreading through his body. At 36, Paul, who had spent his life mastering the art of saving others, was now a patient facing his own mortality. The diagnosis shattered his carefully constructed plans for the future, a future that included a thriving career, a growing family with his wife, Lucy, and decades to continue his search for meaning. The memoir captures the emotional whiplash of moving from doctor to patient, from someone who held others' lives in his hands to someone grappling with the fragility of his own. Paul's voice is unflinchingly honest as he describes the fear, anger, and grief of confronting a terminal illness, but also his determination to live fully in the time he had left. Wrestling with mortality. The heart of When Breath Becomes Air lies in Paul's attempt to make sense of his diagnosis and redefine what it means to live a meaningful life. As a doctor, he was accustomed to guiding patients through life and death decisions, but now he faced the same uncertainties his patients did. How do you plan for a future when you don't know how much time you have? What matters most when time is finite? Paul's reflections are both intellectual and deeply emotional. He draws on literature, philosophy, and his medical experience to grapple with these questions, weaving in references to thinkers like Samuel Beckett and Michel de Montaigne. Yet the memoir never feels academic. It's raw and intimate, filled with moments of vulnerability, his fears of leaving Lucy, his longing to leave a legacy, and his struggle to maintain hope. His relationship with Lucy, a fellow doctor, becomes a cornerstone of the story, showcasing their love, resilience, and shared commitment to face the unknown together. Living with purpose. Despite his illness, Paul chose to live with purpose. He continued to practice neurosurgery when his health allowed, finding meaning in helping his patients even as he faced his own mortality. He and Lucy also made the courageous decision to have a child, a daughter named Katie, whose birth brought profound joy and a sense of continuity amidst his declining health. Paul's writing about fatherhood is especially heart-wrenching, as he reflects on the love he feels for Katie and the pain of knowing he won't see her grow up. Paul also turned to writing as a way to process his experience and leave something behind. When Breath Becomes Air was born from this effort, a book he worked on tirelessly even as his health deteriorated. The act of writing became a way for him to wrestle with his mortality, to find meaning in suffering, and to connect with others who might face similar questions. The memoir is soul-touching because it doesn't shy away from the raw realities of illness and death, yet it's infused with hope, love, and a relentless search for meaning. Paul's prose is luminous, blending the precision of a scientist with the soul of a poet. He writes with a clarity that makes every moment, whether it's a surgical procedure, a quiet moment with Lucy, or a reflection on life's fragility, feel sacred. The book is structured in two parts. The first half focuses on Paul's life before his diagnosis, and the second half chronicles his journey with cancer. An epilogue by Lucy provides a heartbreaking yet beautiful closure, reflecting on Paul's legacy and the impact of his life and work. The memoir doesn't offer easy answers or tidy resolutions. Instead, it invites readers to sit with life's biggest questions and find beauty in the struggle. When Breath Becomes Air resonates because it speaks to universal human experiences, the search for purpose, the inevitability of death, and the courage to live fully in the face of uncertainty. Paul's story is both deeply personal and profoundly universal, touching readers across cultures and backgrounds. His reflections on the doctor-patient relationship, the limits of medicine, and the power of human connection are especially poignant for anyone who has faced illness, loss, or existential questions. The title, inspired by a line from a 17th-century poem by Baron Brooke, encapsulates the book's central meditation. The moment when breath becomes air is the fleeting, inevitable transition from life to death, a boundary Paul crossed both as a doctor and as a patient. His ability to articulate this experience with such clarity and grace makes the memoir a timeless exploration of what it means to be human. Why it's deep, emotional, and soul-touching. Depth. Paul's intellectual rigor and philosophical reflections elevate the memoir beyond a personal story, making it a meditation on life's biggest questions. Emotion. The raw honesty of Paul's fears, hopes, and love for his family creates an intimate connection with readers, often leaving them in tears. Soul-touching. Paul's courage to face death while seeking meaning inspires readers to reflect on their own lives, priorities, and legacies. When Breath Becomes Air is a testament to Paul Kalanithi's brilliance, humanity, and resilience. It's a book that breaks your heart and mends it at the same time, reminding us that even in the face of death, life can be rich with meaning, love, and purpose. For anyone seeking a deeply moving, thought-provoking read, this memoir is a gift, a poignant reminder to live fully, love deeply, and embrace the fragility of existence. If you'd like, I can provide specific quotes from the book, analyze particular themes in more depth, or discuss how it has impacted readers based on reviews or posts found on X. Let me know.